grab a glass and get out here. We're drinking Jack Daniel's Single Barrel, Barrel Proof Rye. So Jack Daniel's, this release is really a great story from Jack Daniel's about a once limited or rare release that transitioned into something that was more shelf stable. Especially, you've seen that with some different distilleries where they have a first release of something and it's really good. The first few batches are fantastic, and then as time goes on, it becomes more available. All of a sudden, the quality starts dropping. It's not as good anymore. It becomes more expensive, and it just falls off really fast. That has not happened with the Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Program, their bourbon or their rye, but I've got the rye here today. I remember seeing a while back some hunting videos where folks were super excited to find the Single Barrel Barrel Proof Rye on the shelf. I know particularly, I remember a few videos from Bruzel couple years ago when these started hitting the shelves regularly, and he was thrilled to be finding them. And then I was watching them more recently and thinking, they're sitting on, I could name a few dozen stores in the southeastern Wisconsin area that had them sitting on the shelf at MSRP. I was watching those videos a little while later. So really an incredible job by Jack Daniel's of taking what was a new release, turning it into a regular release, maintaining the quality, holding the price steady, really flooding the market with fantastic whiskey. Between this, their single barrel proof bourbon, their toasted heritage barrel, their single barrel selects of the bourbon and rye, anything in this shape bottle is so good from Jack Daniel's. And it's incredible that they've been able to do that. I really appreciate how they've kept the price reasonable, made it available, and turn this into something that we can get our hands on as enthusiasts. So I think that this was one of the bottles that helped put Jack Daniel's on the map for enthusiasts, or maybe not enthusiasts, but the people getting into the hobby, because a lot of starters, they see Jack Daniel's and they just think Old Number 7. That's the only bottle that they're familiar with, and they think, oh, it's all bottom shelf, blah, 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 it's cheap, it's mixers. But this really convinced a lot of people that that was not the case. Let's get into the details here. So this is a Tennessee rye whiskey. The mash bill is 70% rye, 18% corn, and 12% malted barley. So it's kind of in the middle between your 95.5 style mash bill and your barely legal. Really just about splitting the difference there. It's non-age stated. Proof will vary anywhere between 125 to like 145 on these single barrels. This one, like I said, is 136 proof or 68 alcohol by volume. There's no finishing on this other than the maple charcoal filtering, the Lincoln County process. Price-wise, you'll see these between like $60 and $80. If it's a store pick bottle, it'll usually be a little bit more expensive towards that 80 range. If it's just a standard single barrel, should be right around 65. I would aim to stay in that $65 for the standard ones. If it's an actual store pick, and especially if you can try it first, then you might be willing to pay a little bit more. Now, let's get into these tasting notes. So on the nose, it's a lot. I mean, the proof shows up at 136 proof, makes itself known. You might notice I'm using this different style Glen drinking glass. I think that the ones that open up a little bit, flare out at the top, help with that higher proof whiskeys, with the higher proof whiskeys, kind of diffuses the ethanol a little bit, but it's still hitting me. I'm getting a lot of like sweet green tea, herbal type notes, honey, almost a hot honey. It's it's not as spicy, but just that intensity. Um, there's also like some sweet bread. Maybe if you've had like the Hawaiian rolls, I get that kind of stuff. Like it's a sweet bread, like almost pastry like. Lots of baking spices. Not a lot of dill. No dill really. Maybe a touch of it if you're really looking for it. Yeah, no, that's really nice. Let's get into the palate. I find on the palate, it really helps if you take a really small sip, swish it around with your saliva, and then try to enjoy it. Because you might have seen my face on the first sip, though I was trying to speed through some of that. It hit me like a truck. That flavor, that proof, it's explosive. My whole mouth for a second there just went numb. Um, Almost too much to handle. But after you get past that, then all those flavors that I was describing on the nose, they come through. The herbal, the honey, this touch of sweetbread, like just the very top crust where I think it's sweetest, because they probably brush some honey on there. I don't know. On the sweetbread, it all comes through. It's thick. The whiskey leaves pretty nice legs on the glass. The finish is long. You just feel that. I'm still tasting it right now and feeling it just all the way down my throat. Great Kentucky hug. This will warm you up. If you're feeling cold, this will warm you up. I'm lucky today is a cool day here in Wisconsin. Um, a little overcast, little breeze. So this is really enjoyable. If it were 95 degrees, high humidity, oh, forget it. I would not be enjoying this as much. I think the proof would be too much to properly enjoy in weather like this. This is great winter whiskey. I'm not getting a ton of barrel influence. Um, it's not going to be a young whiskey by any means. I think they're usually between 6 and 8 year old. Um, don't know exactly. Wasn't able to find a lot of good information on that, but it's going to be in that range. Not super old, not super oaky, not super tannic, um, but well developed for sure. There is some complexity there. It's hard to get all the complexity because of the proof. Why to buy this whiskey? First off, it is, if you're looking for high octane whiskey, if you want something that's going to punch you in the mouth with flavor, this is your guy. It's big, it's spicy, it is undeniable. Really great. For what you're getting, it's relatively affordable, $65. Not budget whiskey for sure, but you think about other really high proof ryes like this, there's not a ton. And considering this used to be kind of a special release from Jack Daniels where it would get marked up on the secondary and go for much higher prices, it's really a high value for what you're getting. It's now much more available, and that's great because, again, used to be hard to find. Now it's pretty much everywhere. It's not going to necessarily be in like a tiny liquor store or like a gas station liquor store, but most high quality liquor stores that are going to have, if you're a whiskey enthusiast who's going around to different liquor stores, one of the liquor stores in the area is going to have these and might even have a store pick. On that note, some of the store picks are truly exceptional. I got to try a hazmat store pick that just blew me away. I was almost willing to pay what they were asking for, which was a lot, but it was tempting because it was just so good. The presentation of these bottles is fantastic. Anything in this shape bottle from Jack Daniels, like I said earlier, worth buying at MSRP. It really is. And then if you can get the slightly smaller, the age-stated Jack Daniels, even better. And then you can also have a lot of fun with these where, if you have a few buddies who all want to buy the Jack Daniel's single barrel barrel proof rye, try and get a few different rick houses, a few different proof points, all get together, blind them, and maybe find out, oh, this bottle really works for me, this bottle really works for someone else, and you can all go home with your favorite one. The prices are pretty consistent across the board, and that would be a really fun thing to do with some buddies. You just have to remember on this whiskey with the single barrel proof rye from Jack Daniels, they're hefty. They come in with a lot, so it might not be the best like beach party whiskey. Keep that in mind. Bet it would make some crazy good cocktails though. Just a thought. Some of your alternatives, if you're looking for something a little lower proof, I would look for the Pikesville rye at about 110 proof, and really the same price point. You're getting a lot of similar flavors, but it's just a little more subdued. It's not as aggressive, but that might be a good option for you. I really like the Hard Truth Sweet Mash rye. Those are younger, but they are a really fun craft presentation of rye. I do think they're sweeter, even though sweet mash does not mean that the whiskey is sweet. It's just a term for the process they use during the distillation. So totally different thing. Sweet mash does not mean sweet. Though in this case, it is a sweeter rye. If you're looking for a budget equivalent, save some money, I would say the Sazerac 125 proof would be the way to go. You're still getting a big proof, maybe not as proofy as some of these, but you're also only spending 40 to 45 bucks in the areas where those are currently being distributed. And finally, especially if you're in Wisconsin, though they are now shipping to most of the United States, Driftless Glen, the Driftless Glen single barrel proof rye, the store picks are really fun. You can find, they're usually age stated, so they'll tell you how old they are. And if you can find something in the 7 to 9 year age range, those can be really great. They'll be usually between 100 and 115 to 120, 130 proof. So again, not quite as proofy as these, but another really cool craft presentation of a high proof rye, a little funkier. You might get a little more variation from barrel to barrel since it's a smaller outfit. But some of those are just really fantastic. So that's all I got for you today. Cheers, and go touch grass.